Alright, I'm going to tie my version of a Psycho Prince. And I'm going to start off with a size 14 nymph hook with a 3/32 tungsten bead. And I'm going to make this heavier, so I'm going to add some lead wire. And usually for this size and these sort of dimensions, I do 10 wraps of lead underneath, and I'll just push that up to secure against the bead head. I'm going to tie this with a 70 fire orange, and I do it so I'm going to give it a little tail and make that a hot spot. So I'm going to start by wrapping this just behind my lead and wrap it up and back down. And I can break that off. Now I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to wrap it down past the bend of the hook, and then bring it back up and put a slight thread ball just where it starts to bend, and that's going to help me separate my goose biot tails. And so the tails that I'm going to use for this are going to be a brown goose biot. So I'm going to take 2 of those. And again, anytime you're removing these, they're going to want to lie in the same direction. And so I take them and put them back to back so that they'll create that natural V shape that we're looking for in our tails. So now I'm just going to tie these in, and I'm going to tie them in both at the same time. I want them to be about a hook shank in length. Set them right over top. You can tie these in one at a time if you like. I'm going to tie them in together. And once you have 2 wraps or so to secure, you can start to move them around and make sure they're sitting just how you want. So that looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go through and tie those in and just break off the end sections here. Alright, now for the ribbing material that I'm going to use. I'm going to use just a size 14, and this is an oval tinsel, and it's in gold. And I'm going to tie that into the side. And the dubbing that I use, I do in 2 sections. I'm going to use this olive ice dub for the back, and then I'll do a darker section for the thorax. So I'll just get this started on. Just make my wraps up, and now I can come back through and start wrapping my rib material up through the body of this, and just maybe 3 or 4 wraps to get that secure, and I'll come back through and trim that. So the next material that I'm going to tie in is these goose biots, and I'm going to tie them into the side. So I'm going to find two that are a little wider so that they stick out. They're a little bit more prominent on the side of the fly. And I'm going to use that natural curve and place them right alongside and just tie them in. And I'll get my other tip and do it the same on the other side. And then I can come back through and trim those butt sections. Alright, then I'm going to put a wing, kind of a wing bud in this, and for that I'm going to use a golden antron. And so I'm just going to fold this in half, put it right on top, and then tie it in. And then I'll come back through and just snip it off. I'm taking about half the length of the goose biot. Now the final piece is the thorax, and I'm going to use a peacock ice dubbing for this. Again, you can tie these in some wild colors, pinks, purples, whatever. So I'm going to get a good bit of dubbing here for the thorax, and then start to tie this in. And then I'll whip finish behind the bead head. And get that in good and secure. Trim that off. Pull out some of those loose fibers. And that is my version of the Psycho Prince. You can see those goose biots kind of flare out to either side. Good little fly.